Hello, hello. Thank you for coming and joining us for a Five of Clubs, I mean, Five of Hearts week in conversation. Um, in just a moment, adding a few banners about certain things that we're going to try out, kind of new to this week. So I do want to give people the opportunity to may join us up here on stage as when we get started to indulge in maybe a weekly or a yearly preview reading. Um, I know as far as pricing, it has been a concern for a few people. So in exchange of, I guess you can say semi-free, right? Or maybe with the donation, you all can enjoy maybe getting a preview of a reading with the donation here on our Sunday meetings. With that, saying that it will be some changes. Okay, coming up, we have reached a year almost. Um, and thank you all for listening, joining us for some time now. I probably can't say thank you enough for just 100 or so people that may come in throughout the week. So we definitely enjoy your and your ability to be with us. Again, just a second. We add some things here at the bottom. I'm gonna be right back in the flash. Thank you for being patient. So I took a listen to our last year Five of Hearts conversation. Hey Gina.
Morning. How's it
Morning.
going?
It's going pretty good. It's going. We up and
We up.
live. But yeah, I was saying I took a listen to last year's conversation, and we started off. It was pretty good, but we started off talking about our own personal weekly spreads, which kind of had me inspired to maybe look at other people's spreads today, and
Hmm.
also given the take that I know a very um, great oh man, Five of Hearts. Let me fix it. I'm trying to fix it. It has the wrong dates in there. I don't know why it says Ace of Hearts. I know a very good Five of Hearts astrologer, and a lot of times the Five of Hearts just says that they should seek metaphysical practices to help with their emotional restlessness. You know, um, so maybe we can give that as a treat to those who may join us. What in the room? To those who may join us today. So there we go. But starting out, I guess we can also kind of talk about our own personal weeks and how have you been this week?
It's been, that five energy is definitely a lot. I think that if you're not aware of it, it can be a little, all over the place. But knowing that it was a 5 week, you kind of understand that there's going to be pivots, there's going to be changes, you have to adapt, you have to be able to pivot. But this is our hearts, so this is our relationships and how we feel and stuff like that. So, um, definitely can bring a lot of shifts. The Five of Hearts has doesn't it have the nine in Mars and a nine in Pluto too?
Yeah, that's what
Yeah,
we was kind of talking about the last time we was here. Those
yeah,
nine, and the forced change. I think that happens
Right.
sometimes. A word that just kept popping in my head as I was meditating on the energy is evolution or evolving. You know, um, and what does that really mean, and what does that really look like? Before we knew the modern day concept of evolution, what did it mean for humans as we evolve? We grow. Um, as you evolve, or whenever you're looking at evolution, you think of like a particular animal that may not be native to the environment, or he could be native to the environment, and he's forced to change maybe eating habits, the things that he built his house with based upon his environment, and it changes physical. So the fives have always been looked at as the physical or the man, right? So that is that man evolving. I think where the physical body, right, the physical changing and evolving, or having forced changes. So it's all the emotional things as far as the five of hearts. What is it evolving to? What is the evolution that's taking place within that? Is kind of what I was speaking on or asking myself whenever you're looking at those nines. As you were saying the last time, all the nines have a five in Mars or in Pluto.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a hint of evolution or change that may come. And whenever you have a nine,
That ain't a hint. That's a bulldozer. Let's be real. It's Mars and Pluto. There's no hint with that one. It comes through with a wrecking ball. But when you looked at the result card, hold on, I'm trying to turn this up. The result card being the seven of spades, it's you have to have faith in the bulldozer. You have to have faith in the sudden, you know, departure of some things. That it actually is because it's a five. It makes sense now, because it's a five. The what is deemed a loss or a disappointment is probably more a redirection to something that's more aligned for you. It's just you have to let go of what you thought it was supposed to be so that you can see it for what it is and see the blessing in that. Because we look at those sevens as like staying in the present, staying in the now, having that faith. But if you're so concerned about what was going, what's gone, right, or what was taken, if you will, then you're going to miss what could come, right? And having that seven of spades is the result card. And then on top of it, it transforms to the jack of diamonds. So all of that is to happen to initiate you, right? To higher sets of values, to see that maybe what you thought, what you wanted wasn't really good for you and you had to redirect, you had to let go. Have faith that the universe is actually really turning you, if you will, because that's that five, to something better, and that truly is the epitome of like having that having that faith in something that you can't even see, that you don't even know what it is. That is the ultimate like faith, and having faith in yourself too.
and also reading the signs, because I think even without seeing, I believe everyone gets a feeling or a sign. I was watching Tabitha Stewart, whose birthday is today. Just by coincidence, I was watching her this morning. I was like, and I looked at her birthday. I was like, her birthday is today.
The
But
eight of
she was,
spades.
um, no, today is the five of spades, right?
No, today's the eight of spades.
Eight of spades, yeah, eight of spades. Yeah, so I'm tripping. I'm not tripping. I knew that, but I knew she was a spade, right? But she's a eight of spade. But also, while I say I knew that because I was looking at that king of clubs that they placed, and I was like, dang, that. After the interview, she was talking about the intuition that she gets, and using her intuition, and I look at that all of that as like reading the signs and symbols, and she talks about that gut feeling, you know, um, and that inner guide that you have and listening to your gut, but also for her, the King of Clubs is very intuitive. It's six Uranus, and the chaos spread or the life spread, as we refer. But in her instance, it's Saturn, Jupiter, which is also still health, gut, and all of that. especially with Jupiter, is it's abundance, but it's overdoing. It can be gluttonous as well. So I think listening to the inner your inner self and your inner gut is very important because they always want more, right? But like we always want to eat more, right? And they usually have a lot of health problems. And she did tell her journey as far as her health, and how that in itself was a form of evolution and having to take control of her mind, and using her mental, as a tool of gaining power from it, and not looking at how it weakens her, or detriment sometimes because if you're really sickly a lot of times, then it's going to show mentally, and how you can easily give up a lot of times. So I think eight is endurance, overcoming, right? So she's the eight of spades, and her whole story on the Breakfast Club really showed her card, and what she endured. So said all that to say what? Oh yeah, intuition, using your inner God, your gut, right? And the fives. When I was listening to her, I was thinking she got to be like is she like a five, a three, seven? That makes sense. Her being the eight of spades, as I just explained. But also, what made me say that was she had this intuition of who she would always be, you know, and that intuition also provoked her to change her life and where she was at the moment. Um, I think if you listen to her journey, her vision in the oh yeah, the spirit of what was hinting to you to change, listening to that God, listen to your intuition. Sometimes it's scary, you know. Sometimes you don't know what who God is or how He speaks to you, but there's always signs and symbols. That's what I get into the signs and symbols, right? But there's always signs and symbols around you, that can also be telling you. I think that is, as I was speaking last week, I didn't get to finish totally, but I was speaking about the messages and hearing the right messages with the four hearts because it's Mercury Neptune. But those messages and those intuitions sometimes are different from other people or certain people because we don't know where that voice is, like how you know if it's God talking or just you talking, right? And she said when it's God talking, it's a vision that you'll never forget. Almost, it always sticks with you. And I think for fives, when you going through changes, you got to learn how to listen to that inner gut and cloud out the judgment of other people. And as you look at the five art, it says the seven of clubs, right? And Saturn, because
The Five of Hearts. It's Jupiter.
Jupiter, seven
Mm-hmm.
of Jupiter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
A lot of the
So
fives have seven in Jupiters.
yeah, and that's another thing.
Mm-hmm.
Jupiter,
They
and
have
what?
to have faith, and then the reward of being the seven of spades even more. So it shows when they operate from like listening to that higher power and trusting it and trusting the redirection, having faith in that redirection. Ideally, it's more than what you even could probably had imagined for yourself, right? Because it's actually more aligned with you and your higher purpose.
Yeah. Um, and looking yourself in the mirror. I think
Mm-hmm.
that somebody else said that this morning. That I was listening to. I think it was Shay Shay, Unc. Um, I don't know what. Dang, what is that? His name is it's Shay Shay now, right?
Shannon Sharp.
Shannon Sharp, right?
Yeah.
And I have a problem. That's my memory. But yeah, Shannon Sharp. It was a snippet this morning, and I was watching it. Actually, it was last night. I was in this lady yard. She came out and she was like, "You was out here for 10 minutes in my yard." I was like, "Lady, I was not." The video I was watching was like 2 minutes, but he said he walks through past in the mirror, and he said he gives himself that same confidence while he's alone, and those same speeches when he's on stage. You
Yeah.
know, so it's like if the message isn't from outside, it's coming from within as well.
Yeah.
It's you talking to yourself. It can be you talking to yourself, right? We always say the seven of clubs is mantras. Six of diamonds is a prayer for money. Not let me not. But I said that because six of diamonds transform into seven of clubs. So
Mm-hmm.
in prayer, right? But using mantras and talking to yourself and using that as a tool, and also if you don't hear a voice or a message or those that penetrating voice that's coming direct to you, talk to yourself out loud. What are you saying from within? What type of movement are you being forced to do? I don't think growth ever comes without change.
Listen, I talk to myself all the time. My daughter just agreed. But I do. I have, like, when you work, you have your own business, and it's you. I go in for meetings and stuff like that, but most of the time it's me, and I am counseling me. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes I'm not sure that's the best thing, but I'm counseling me. Um, but it's that inner voice. You know what I mean? It's that Seven of Clubs can be a very challenging card if you're not aware of what it, like. I had that card yesterday, actually, the Seven of Clubs, and it and I forgot about it because I was like, I wonder what my card is today, because I couldn't remember. And I was like, oh, that's right, it's the Seven of Clubs. And I think even with the Five of Hearts week and just the rest of my spread, I've had threes. I had a Three of Diamonds in Pluto. I had a Three of Hearts pushing me. So there was that, like, potential of, but it's been different for me this week, I would say, where I didn't let the swing happen. I didn't let myself get caught up in the negative. You know what I mean? Five of Hearts kids that is coming and play. I was able to really stay focused there. And there have actually been some things that you would think that would cause someone to kind of go to the far, left with the thoughts. But I've been very mindful of where my mind went about it. And truthfully, when I really stop and look at it, what good would it do if I worried about it? It's not going to change the situation. It's not going to make the situation different. All it's going to do is hurt me to worry about the situation, that it will get handled. But it would be something that normally would have caused me a lot of, like, angst and worry and stress. And I can see where having that Three of Diamonds in Pluto for me this week, because it is about business, it is about money, would stress me out. But I was like, you know what? I'm not going to worry about this. I'm going to, do what I need to do to make sure I get everything in the row so that they can't do what they're trying to do, and not let it stress. Again, the point of it is to not let that, like, penetrate my mind, because that's what happens with that Seven of Clubs. It, like, zoop, and next thing you know, you're like, everything's falling apart. And all this worry comes and all these negative thoughts come. And that's when I call you have to, like, really work at the purgatory of hell of your mind, or the quicksand that happens of the negative thoughts. And you have to literally,
The purgatory of
come
hell.
up out of it. It really it sucks you down into everything is going to go wrong. Everything is wrong. Everything is bad. Everything is negative. And it's not an outside thing. That's the thing. It's usually from the inside out. And until you see it and recognize it and do the work to try to transform it, it can be debilitating in your mind.
Yeah. And when you think of five, the sevens, you said something last week I thought, which was very um, descriptive of just the sevens and how it is and where she go. So was that, because I was gonna ask, what did she say? Fear? Something, what does the acronym for fear? Madeline, do you know it? I can't hear you.
Future events that appear real, or F
Future.
everything and run.
F everything and run. I like that too, right? Especially with the Five of Hearts sitting in Jupiter, I think that we can kind of, create our own thoughts in our head, like kind of like what Gina was saying. Like, there's no reason to create these ideas, to create this negative, have this negative thought pattern about something that may not be real. And that's also, like I said, that I think that comes with the change, that comes with the fives. They have two threes. I know, Madeline, you have a Three of Clubs that challenges you, correct? Yeah. So I think with the threes,
No, it's
you
where I'm
also have
going. I've decided not to think of that as challenging. I've decided to think of it as, it's where I'm going. It's my north.
Okay, okay. No, most definitely, because you sit in the house, so most definitely it is where you going and
Hmm.
where you at, right? But it's like how do I maintain
Like what
this
you were
environment?
talking about with that eight of spades.
Hmm.
When you were talking about the eight of spades and how there's a part of her that seems to know where she's going and that interest. It was a great opening conversation. I agreed with all of it. Thank you.
I'm not
Hmm.
allowed to push the buttons anymore. I keep booting my. I keep exiting.
I,
Oh, that's fun.
I won't touch. I won't touch anything
oh,
because
Gina.
I did it. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, oh my god, let me stop.
I wanna share something about the five of hearts. You know, I think it's an interesting thing to consider the way things get imprinted, right? Because I remember the five of hearts, like when I first started learning the cards, 4 years ago, the ghoster, the ghoster. Like, so in my
Hmm.
head, the five of hearts gets this word attached to it. Now, I know lots of different five of hearts. They're definitely not easy to pin down. They're definitely moving energies. They're definitely, but like, it's an interesting thing how whatever those original ideas are that you get, because even like when somebody asks me about their cards, I find I say certain words and I'm like, well, I don't know. Is it really that? Like it's interesting how I notice that there's certain cards that I have like a story for already.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Like
part of
that's
their
how that
nature.
card
It
is, or
it
they do
it
this.
because
I
it's
don't
the
know. Yeah.
well, because it's a gypsy type energy. It has the ability to disappear. It wants to travel. It has it's spontaneous, which can be perceived as ghosting. Like again, you said it's hard to pin them down. So you could be, interacting with the five of hearts, and like you say, you meet someone, right? And you're like, oh, they're a five of hearts. That right there in itself should be like, okay, if I don't hear back from them, I understand that it's probably not me. It's just their energy. They have a lot going on. I don't think it's intentional to ghost people. I think it's them in the midst of that big heart energy, and a lot of times too, I think there can be the essence of running away because it can get too intense. They have a nine of hearts in Mars, so there's a lot of emotions, and if they can't, that's the thing with the nines. Remember, if you have to let go of certain things, and their let go may be to bounce out, be like, I'm out. I don't want to I don't want to even deal with this. I need to, escape from it. So they usually will come back, once they kind of get their bearings. So yeah, it definitely has that potential to kind of ghost, if you will. But yeah, and I mean, there's cards that are called the divorce cards. I've seen it in people's spreads, and they don't get divorced. You know what I mean? So this is a divorce card.
Yeah,
So as
yeah.
a
That's
nine
what
of
I
hearts
mean.
can be
Like
considered.
sometimes, right. Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
A divorce card, yeah.
because it can also be the marriage card. I was telling someone
Yeah.
that as well. You having those word connotations, that's the reason why just reading the books sometimes won't help, because you really have to study the spread. The spread will tell you more than what the books will.
Yeah.
And one reason, as far as, and they say the five of hearts shouldn't marry without money. If so, they wish they would have never done it. And they shouldn't marry for money, or it won't last very long. So um so with those, it being a five, we think about ghosting and divorce, but it can also be a card of marriage, because it has a four of diamonds, so it wants relationships. It has a sense of loyalty. If you My way of kind of thinking about that is the five, the fifth house and Leo. There's a sense of loyalty there, and also making friendships. It's Venus, Saturn, so it has to have friends. It has to create partnerships. It needs those relationships, and it helps it kind of create a solid foundations, right? Um, and G Shop said the evolutionary energy. So I think it's an evolutionary energy, correct? It's forever evolving, and like Gina said, sometimes you outgrow your friendships. Sometimes you can outgrow a marriage as well. I think sometimes that's kind of a hard point to even to look at it as well. Like I said, is when do you know, or how can you tell what God is telling you, or whomever, that where that message is coming, when something is, maybe not forever almost, but you forever evolving, right? So it's always something greener on the other side. And actually, I had to look at why Aquarius had reference back to the Power Club as well, something green on the other side, and I had to look at those placements of the nines. But look, and Forever Evolving, hey, Donna has joined us. So we do plan on, speaking of evolving, plan on adding a segment. Could be at this time, it could be at another time. It's something that we will have to discuss, but speaking towards families and relationships a little bit more, and more on relationships, would be another segment that we have, and this would just be more of a hyper focus on on certain cards here. Depending on, like I said, times could change depending on where we're going, we're evolving, right? Expanding, adding perspectives. If you look at the fives, right, it has the four corners and the one in the middle. So it's always having. So we're like in perfect place right now, right? Right, hello,
We
Donna. How you
definitely
doing?
are. Welcome, Donna. I'm gonna share a little backdrop to Donna and Gina. I love you more than any, but when you move all your stuff around and your mic is on, everything you do we hear.
Oh, sorry.
So like when you were doing,
Yeah, I
we
was
hear all
trying to
that.
get
So
the
like if
computer.
you're gonna move stuff around, turn off your mic. I'm just glad you didn't turn yourself off this time. I'm just excited that you didn't leave.
Yeah, because I tend to leave.
But so Donna, well, she hits the button, like you just said, right, Dina? I didn't mean that you tend to leave. I mean that you say you sometimes hit the button and it gets you out. You said you weren't allowed to hit buttons anymore.
Yep.
I was saying it like that. So Donna, this is Gina and Rashad, and you met Rashad before. Donna wrote a book about parenting and cardology. She has Parenting with the Cards on IG, and we're beginning a conversation around how to work more closely with families and the cards. And she came into the YouTube today because she's never been on one before. And Donna, we're talking about the 5 of Hearts week, and they had a really incredible conversation about so many different factors of the way the change is always bringing us forward in evolution. And as you heard, Rashad brought in the evolution of including you. And Gina, I meant no offense. I just meant that it was hard to hear because the thing was moving.
No, you're fine.
So thanks, everyone.
And I also spoke previously about maybe potential readings, and we'll get to that. But I'm sorry, go ahead, Donna, and introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. Thanks,
Hi.
Rashad, for that introduction. As Croatia mentioned, I have produced a book on parenting with cardology. I just happen to have it right here. It's called Unlocking the Potential of Children. And it's a summation of my work as a teacher and applying cardology to teaching my students and being a parent. My background is that I was a middle school teacher for 20 years. And
God
then,
bless you.
yeah, I know, right? I call them the hormonally challenged.
I could only imagine.
Yeah. And I began teaching in Houston, Texas, working with inner city kids. They taught me how to teach, basically, is the way I look at it. But one summer, early on in my teaching career, I was looking for like any tool to help me. And I came across a book on cardology, and I started applying it to try to understand my students better, and how to, meet them where they were at. And I was amazed at how it helped. And so I just continued to learning about cardology and applying it to everything in life, basically.
That's awesome. I bet you that was incredible, because it really does help when you understand how they learn, or their Mercury card specifically when they're that young, because they're there,
Right.
and really being able to see if they have a 5. No wonder why they don't sit still. No wonder why they're asking all these questions, or an ace. You know what I mean? So we were able to really probably communicate. That is just dope, because I swear if everybody would do that, that would like really teach. Because again, what I love, my daughters did, like my older one did Montessori, and my younger one's in a school where they really do like individually see, where your strengths are, where your weaknesses are, and they cater to that. It's not one size fits all, and that's what it is. We're not all the same. We don't learn the same. So I love that. That's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, in fact, I love that you guys are talking about 5 of Heart today, because my son is a 5 of Heart.
Aw.
And so knowing that, one of the things that I did is I read this book called Raising Cain, and the book is all about trying to get males to understand their emotions and express their emotions. And so from a very young age, I helped him try to identify his emotions and then express them. And that was a really good like parenting technique that I used for a 5 of heart.
Yeah, with that 9 in Mars, absolutely. You know what I mean? Like they has to find an outlet for it. If not, it can become very explosive.
Yes, yes, and anxiety building. Like he suffers from anxiety when he holds his emotions in.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is he how old is he? If you don't mind me asking now.
Oh, he's 36.
Oh,
so
okay.
he's like he's
Yeah.
way beyond that now, but
Yeah. But I think that's beautiful too, especially when you have like heart kids and they feel so much and they don't know why, and that can be really intense, and you're helping them explain those feelings and those emotions because they can be very big and they don't know what to do with them, and then they can get stifled. You know, I'm a Jack of Hearts, so growing up, like I felt so deeply, and it kind of would get like, why are you crying? What's wrong with you?
right. And finding really good ways for them to channel that emotion.
Yeah.
You know, like I think of like Billie Eilish. She's a king of hearts. So talk about having emotional power, and she channels all of those emotions into her songwriting. And you can feel it. I mean, you can just feel the emotions in her songs, and so that's a perfect example of how to take something and make something good out of it.
Well, look at Drake. He's a Jack of Hearts, and his thing was called Lover Boy. I was like, that's so good. He must know who he is. He must know he's a Jack of Hearts, because that one album was Lover Boy, and I was like,
That's
and what does he sing about? What does he sing about? What is his whole relationships, women, intimacy? Perfectly for the Jack of Hearts.
Yeah,
and he's a Scorpio Jack of Hearts too, so he knows how to get you into those feels real deeply.
I was watching a dating show that was like, I don't want no water signs. I don't want no Scorpio, no Pisces, no Cancer. I do not want any water signs, but I can definitely see. I think he does know his card. He always has a heart in his hair, in his hairline or whatever, his shape up, and then also he has a heart mirror. I think in his room or beside his bed or something like that as well.
He probably got a heart bed.
Good one, Gina.
Because that bed is important.
But the Jack of Hearts, of course,
in so many ways.
The Lover Boy, right? It needs a big one, right?
Does this show have a rating?
Yeah, it's supposed to be for everyone. Right? Sometimes we might have to change the rating. It depends on after the show. So we don't rate it until after we're done, because
Surprised I haven't been booted off for the word I said too sometimes.
Yeah, YouTube hasn't sensitized yet. So.
Yeah, we've been lucky, right?
I know, because my mouth will get me in trouble.
But, what I was going to say was, the communication thing. I think like you said, for the hearts, all hearts expressing themselves, especially for the 5 of hearts. I think it's important that they don't hamper themselves and become clear on what they want as well. You know, they have 2 3s right off the top or right off the bat. You know, and then the 9 of hearts, kind of what Gina was pointing to, so it can be dissatisfaction and confusion that can kind of hamper their growth in their lives a lot of times. And of course, the hearts are emotional. You know, those are emotions that we take. So I think 5 of hearts sitting Saturn is a lot of time I look at it as like trying to define them and trying to define your feelings, trying to know where to place them. You know, and using the right words at the right time and those type of things, and making sure you're not offending someone. You know, on which sign is he?
Who, Drake?
No, her son.
Oh,
no, he's a Scorpio too.
Oh, you said Scorpio. Scorpio. So that Mars is the 9 of hearts, and then the
Pluto. The 9s, double 9s.
Yeah.
So it's really teaching, like we talked about at the beginning, when the being able to let go. There's a sense, like, I think people don't see the 9s and 5s as freedom. And that's why they have such a free spirit, because they cannot be attached. They cannot be tethered to anything. Like she said, Madeline said at the beginning, you can't box them in. You can't hold them to a space. They have to express. They have to feel, and they may feel, because those 9s are to the 9s, and then it's in Mars and in Pluto. So there can be a strong intensity to that. And if they don't know how to let go, they don't know how to be free. Like you said, it can, that can be debilitating. Anxiety, you're holding on to things that were meant to be let go. And the 9s, I talk about how it's the light at the end of the tunnel. And you focus on the tunnel, that's where those 9s can be really tough. But if you can focus on the light, what could come, there's that sense of being free of what was, being taken from you or let go, or being removed, if you will. It's just really changing that perception on how you view that energy, because having 2 9s right off in my spread, I had to learn that like very quickly, because if not, it can be you get very stuck on to what you thought, and you're holding on to something so deeply, and you miss the potential, like what something better is coming, but you won't see it or enjoy it if you're still stuck on what was leaving.
With my son, I tell him how he's like a can of soda, being that 5 of heart. And then the 9s that he has, like, through life, like, shakes up the can.
Yeah.
And so if he doesn't, like, let it out, some of that, the bubbles.
Pressure. Yeah.
Otherwise, when he does, it just goes everywhere, explodes. So
that's perfect. Yeah. That's nice, a great one. Like, visual.
I'm having that, how amazing that on the 5 of Hearts week, Donna comes in and her son's a 5 of Hearts. Like, to me, the cards are a troll that wants us whole. Like, this is the stuff that happens from the minute when I started coming talk to all of you. So one of the things that in that 8 of spades, you dream it for the longest. I've been saying to Rashad, it's a Jack, Queen, King. Jack, Queen, Queen. We have to think about what the Jack, Queen, and King. And here we are, Jack, Queen, and King, and the 3 of Diamonds. So I'm just so curious. All I do is stay open to what it does, but I'm surprised and happy when I see it do that, because I'm like, oh, look it, this is moving energy. This is that 5 time. Look what came in. So I just love that kind of stuff. And yeah, I agree with all the other stuff that's been said. I just wanted to reflect that. And Raising Cain, I read that for the boys too, for the younger ones, and it was so helpful. And I think part of why the men they are as emotionally kind of balanced is because I understood the value of giving them a place to express it and talk about it. And the eldest one, the 8 of Clubs, I remember saying to me, Mom, I think with the anger stuff, we have to let it out a little bit at a time, because I would be like, going along, and then, ah! You know what I mean? So he like told me, like, Mom, and here I am, like, watching my grandson for the weekend, and I'm like, God, it takes so much patience to be so present for a 5-year-old. Like, I find myself wanting to just be so accommodating, and then getting to a point where it's like, all right, stop, I can't do it anymore, So I think the letting out a little bit is a wonderful metaphor too. So, yeah,
that's why I like to fight. No, I'm just kidding. That's why, realizing that, needing an outlet for those, or allowing people, like, especially men and boys at that, if you're raising boys, like, they're human beings, they have feelings, they have emotions, and we've been, programmed to, it's don't cry, and so that's why you have a lot of them very angry walking around, because they don't know how to express what they feel too. We can't be that dumb to think that they don't feel, that they don't have feelings. They're humans, they have a heart. So when we see, when you hear, like, parents, a boy falls down, oh, get up, you're fine. You completely denied that person the feeling of that pain or whatever it was that they were feeling in that moment, So I think that and that's the work that we can do, is when we really help people understand, especially if you're raising a boy heart, you know what I mean? Or a boy who has a lot of heart in his spread. That's important to allow them to feel those feelings, teach them how to maneuver them, not just shove them down, because then one day they're going to come back up, Yeah.
And teaching the balance of expressing those emotions too, like, when and where to do that. For me as a parent, the home was the safe space for him to express himself. Whereas we talked about balancing that with like when he's out on the playground at school, he's not going to be as like sensitive or, you know, because then he'd get bullied.
Mm-hmm.
So to help him navigate that, particularly through, you know, the tween and the teen years.
Especially the teen years, because that's rough. That's a rough one. Because not only are they naturally, you know, when kids hit about 9, 10, 11, they start that's when it really starts to, and they don't know why, and you don't know why, and now they're just a ball of a bunch of stuff, and it can really, you know, be a roller coaster ride of those emotions. And that, I think it gets challenging for parents, because here came your sweet child who used to, you know, be nice to you, and now they won't look, you know, it's a different vibe. It's like, why are you even talking to me? What do you mean, why am I talking to you, you know? So being able to, and that's one of the things that I've said on any platform that I've been on, talking about these cards, is how much they've helped me with my daughters, and being able to understand their energy and really see, especially when we do like the composite of us, and like really looking at that. And then I was like, oh my God, I'm living the negative side of that card with her. And so once I saw that, you start to realize, okay, I'm the parent, I set the tone. So I had to take accountability for my own energy and my own actions, and make the necessary changes so that I wouldn't become gasoline to the fire. Because that's what it was. I was just like, wow, just met it with more anger, more rage, rather than just sitting with it and realizing for how she felt and dealt with things is different than me, you know, and acknowledging that and accepting that, like, and being okay with that was a key too. Because sometimes us as parents are like, no, I'm right, you're wrong.
Always.
So it's how I grew up, at least, you know, like, it didn't matter what you felt or said, you know, we were to be seen, not to be heard, you know. And so it was allowing them to express themselves, allowing them to express who they are, and not shunning them for that, not knocking them for that, not pushing that away. Really, especially when you understand, like, for both of my girls are aces, so there's a totally different energy than me. Totally different energy than me. And so for like my older one, she's very much about, I'm going here, I want to go here, I want to go here. And I'm like, I haven't even gotten out of my pajamas yet. Why are we going so many places? But she can't sit still. She has to be in action. So supporting that rather than stifling that is key.
How old are your girls, Gina?
18 and 9.5. Mm-hmm. Ace of Spades is the older one. Ace of Clubs is the little one.
Oh, wow. That one energy. Woo!
Yeah. Yeah. But they've been my best teachers. You know what I mean? That's one of the best things, is they've been my best teachers, to not just them, but me, you know, because it's seeing it like that too. It's been incredible. It has not been the easiest thing, but at the same time, it's helped so much. Probably more than anything else was knowing these cards.
And especially for you, because you're a Jack, you know,
Mm-hmm.
you'll sacrifice yourself a lot. So understanding that ace energy and understanding what it is, you know, is very important, I think, for you. And of course, Jacks will sacrifice anything for their kids, you know, but also knowing who you are, and that sense of independence, you know, and seeing that, hopefully, you know, and I'm sure it has, you know, forced you to become, you know, independent business owner, in this, you know, as well. So
yeah, when I found out that my little one was the Ace Clubs, and it was my pregnancy with her that introduced me to the magnesium, got me starting a whole business. And I was like, Ace of Clubs is a new business, new ideas. And that's what I was like, oh, this stuff is amazing. Tell me more. You know? So that was just one of the like moments that I had with this energy, was like, wow, that's incredible. Because prior to her, I would have never do what I was doing. I was in the hospitality industry for a long time, running restaurants, banquets, catering, hotels, all of that, to literally making products out of my kitchen. You know what I mean? A new concept, a new idea, and taking it somewhere. And and then they would come out with me and help me set up at these little markets and stuff like that. So it's definitely fascinating when you can see that and be like, oh, it was all aligned. You know what I mean? I feel there's peace to that. Like, oh, I'm doing the right thing. This is actually what this energy is, and I'm utilizing it, you know?
And also with the Five of Hearts, has a Queen of Spades, you know. So the self development and the development process, I think, is very important for the Five of Hearts. And if they don't grow, I, out of that confusion, it comes self mastery. I think, once they become solid on what they want to do and what they want to create in this world, you know. So the aspects and conversation of self mastery, I think is within the energy of this week as well, as far as what we've been discussing here. Then also the Queen of Spades is the mother, you know. So I think with that becomes discipline, becomes um, looking at using tools for education, of course we have the Queen of Clubs here. uh, whenever you're looking at the space to embody all the cards, right? So it has the essence of using or having the energy of all the cards as far as what we say sometimes of those spades. So the queen, the spades is the masters, so they're like the epitome, or they running the kingdom almost in a way. So fives, it's self-development, looking at developing yourself and where have you came and what tools do you need to help develop yourself. So we're here. Of course, they always say fives should use metaphysics a lot of times as well. And you probably see why, right? That Queen of Spades and Uranus, and using that gift of gab eventually that they grow to have, where they that unlock or undiscovered talent, maybe. The Jack and Neptune. So yeah, so we're here as far as having the tools. I think cardology and any spiritual science is a tool of self-development. You know what's funny? I was at Barnes and Noble's last night and I was looking at the astrology section. And guess what's beside the astrology and metaphysics section?
What?
Cardology?
Parenting.
Oh.
Parenting.
Wow.
The parenting is beside the self-development book. So I thought
if anything is going to teach you about yourself is your children. It's going to, I feel like that is one of the best, like, it really shows you, because I think it brings you back sometimes to your own childhood and you're not even aware of it a lot of times, like how you were raised and now you're doing it. And if, like, that was a thing for me, like there were things that I would say that I'm like, oh my God, that was my mama. And I didn't like it. You know what I mean? I didn't like what was being said to me. And I'm now reverberating those words. So I think your kids are going to show you in so many different ways, because they're just little mini versions of you anyway. So, and if you don't know who you are, right, now you have these little mini people who are exposing you where you have a lot of weaknesses.
And you don't understand the reflection that they're reflecting back to you.
Right.
So I don't have kids. That's why I say it's very important to, in this process, I work at a school. I work with children as well. I've only been working with children for the past 3 years, 2.5 years now. And kind of like what Donna said, not in the stint that she probably has, but I've experienced and looked at how a weekly or daily card can reflect in a child's behavior. Mm-hmm. It is eerie, like I tell them, like it is very interesting, like just by coincidence. I remember I was working with a kid and they had a King of Diamonds, and they come up to me and they have this business plan that they're presenting to me on the King with their personal day as the King of Diamonds, and he's telling me the ways that he's going to market it, how he's going to hire other people. I was like, this is crazy.
That's dope, man. I love it.
Oh gosh, and of course there's a lot of other, like, I remember there was a time I had an Ace of Spades day, and he was like, he had this epiphany about death and personal development and changing the way that he see things, and he was like, dang, I thought about what you said the other day, and it makes sense about myself and taking responsibility for my actions. And so it was like this death and this rebirth moment, right? So I think these cards is a tool of self-development. I think that's all astrology is. And these archetypes, that's why they was given. That's why they're here. I think I always say humans are robots, and I think the archetypes are programming systems, and that's where the evolution comes in as well. That's one reason I was thinking about the evolution, because I was talking to Carisha last night about the cards and the way that I look at it around family and using the cards, but also I was like, but we're also evolving as well. There's these standards or these concepts that we have, but it's like, like as I was saying earlier, like you have this bird who has an archetype. They fly, they do all these things, but what if you put it in a different environment? How will it adapt? How will it change? And the same way with families and those things when it comes to the cards. Like we have these archetypes, but your environment is going to show how you may evolve eventually as well. So it adds a whole nother layer. So whenever you're speaking about families and the self-development process, and it's important, to kind of look at everyone, and you can't really put it in a stagnant type of way. But the card's going to show, you're still a bird, you're still a five of hearts, you're still a three of diamonds. The way that you may evolve may be a little different, based upon your environment.
And I think too, like when you look at your parents, the two cards, they are their parents, you start to see patterns, you start to see cards travel together. That's one of my things. Like I'm really into that. Like I'd be tracking people. Oh, I've seen that before. Oh, these cards travel together. Then I'm like, why? Why do they travel together? So I love doing that kind of like Inspector Gadget work of, digging into the lineage of who comes from who. Like for my grandparent, my dad's side, the King of Clubs, Ace of Spades were the grandparents, looking at each of their children and then the grandkids. And I'm like, okay, whereas how does that work? I love looking at stuff like that. And then you see like you'll see mirror cards, like where the mom is the same, for instance, I've seen a lot two of diamonds. So the mom is a two of diamonds, and it tends to be the daughter is also a two of diamonds, but a different birthday. So I find that a lot. You'll find that where the mom is one card, the child is the same card, but different, born on a different day. So, and you could probably see there's a lot, that's a real strong mirror for them, and being able to just, because I had a friend who is that there, and I've seen that specifically with the two of diamonds a lot. And there's probably more, but just in my own studies, I've seen the two of diamonds mom and the two of diamonds daughter, but like I said, different birthdays.
Mm. And those are the things and opportunities, I think.
I think it's all done with mirrors.
And those are the things using the matrix, Madeline.
Yeah, what?
Go ahead, Rashad. He's done with mirrors. Like I think that they're about like a card genogram, gene family therapy, and you can see it talked about there's being patterns of sets of cards. It's probably themed based on their genogram.
Did we lose Rashad?
I don't know, maybe.
Sometimes where he is.
Madeline sounds like a robot.
She does.
A robot. You do.
Sound like a robot?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Talk about evolution.
It really does sound like a robot. She can't hear it. I don't think she hears it. How funky it sounds.
I don't think she hears. No, I can't hear. But I'll be quiet. I'll let you go. I'll find out. Maybe AI is starting to come back. Maybe I'm not a person. Maybe
it's a hologram.
I think that got better. So I have an interesting take on the moon card. So if you look at a parent's moon card, as you know, that's the emotional support, protection, often like how they were parented. And because people parent the way they were parented or supported, I always look at the moon card of the parent to see how that's influencing their parenting style.
That's funny. I just did a workshop yesterday on the moon card and the moon placement in your natal chart with an astrologer. And it's really fascinating. We didn't just dig into the card behind you. We were doing the challenging karma card, the supporting karma card to that card, and the layers of that, and just where the placement was. Like, there was someone who had the moon in the 8th house, and her card had, I can't remember. I think it was the 6 of spades, and the 9 of spades connected to that. You could just see it between the moon and the cosmic moon card, how all of that lined up with her moon in the 8th house.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. And that's true. Like, when you see, when a lot of us, again, like you said, we parent the way we were parented. And a lot of us aren't even aware that we're doing it, because it's just a natural thing that we do, like a robot, right? We just robotically doing something. But I think, especially if you didn't like the way you were parented, until you have those kids, you won't even see that. You know what I mean? Because then you start to see, like, oh my God, I sound just like my mom, or I sound just like my dad, or I'm doing exactly like that. And knowing as a kid, I didn't like it. I think that's when you start to really look and make those necessary changes to break those patterns, to break those cycles, because it didn't even start with your parents. It was back to, how they were raised and they were raised. So, and now we're raising definitely different kids. So you can't really parent them the same way. And that's another thing. These kids aren't us. Like, it's different. So we have to be open to different ways of doing it and communicating with them. Like, growing up, we were to be seen, not heard. We didn't have a voice. We couldn't speak. We'd get our ass beat for, verbing our, speaking our opinion or speaking up. So I think we've given these kids have more power to speak, which is a beautiful thing, because I think what we do a disservice to kids is to think they don't know, to think that they're not aware. They're probably more receptive than we are, because we get closed mind. We're past the brain development, so we're there. But these kids, especially when they're more in tuned, I feel they're very aware of the energy. They pick up on you. They know what you're feeling. And so we have to not shun them and really let them be able to express what they feel, so they feel like their voices are heard.
Yeah, Gina, what's interesting too is that we're talking about 5s today, and 5, the key word is change. And this new generation right now, how we all have, like, the boomers, the names for the generation. I've heard these kids being described as generation change. They're change makers.
Yeah.
And so that 5 energy is really resonating right now with our young people. And I find it exciting, because I think change will bring about this evolution. They will change things for the better, particularly since Pluto has now moved into Aquarius. And I think they're going to lead us into more, more community efforts and more humanitarian pursuits. So I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I agree. Because because they now have access to so much with with them having the internet, and that you can't hide, what was like, we couldn't, like, if my dad said, no, you can't go because this, and this, I just had to accept it. These kids nowadays be like, well, this said I can go. You know what I mean? Like, they have access to things and information, but we just had to believe what our parents said and take it. Now these kids are like, well, Google told me you're wrong. What? So you can't you can't BS these kids anymore. Like we probably were BS this kid.
We probably were BS this kid. Versus, I don't know, force is the right word, but if that right? Because what I find when working with people and families and mothers and daughters, there's some mutual project. You're gonna do this, and I'm gonna do that. Do that and it's unwritten contract to communicate our true needs. Gets of repeating ourselves, because whatever we project onto our kids, what they are. But it's what we see needs attention from us and them for alchemy, but it does have a tendency to get stagnant and stuck. Like you have those same types of conversations with certain people in your family because they always this and I always that, so I think there's a change push for all of us from this generation. I don't want to talk much because you said I sound like a robot, but I just wanted to say that.
Me, it's better now. It was doing the robot stuff and then it just stopped. So I feel like you're not robotic anymore. Well, now you're gone.
Okay, but did you get what I was saying about the shared projection? Like the way that people have ways that they look at each other and treat each other and respond to each other from projections?
Yeah, it was little like robotic, but we got it. Okay. Yeah, and it was there's a delay. I think there's a delay robotic, with the word, but we got it. And if there's a delay, I think there's a delay with the word. Now I'm hearing myself after I talk. Sure, this is now weird. I'm hearing myself after I talk. This is weird.
Oh, now you're echoing?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, we're in some kind of portal. We're in the Five of Hearts portal, coming out the other side. We don't know what'll happen.
Mm-hmm. Rashad, we can't hear you.
We see his brilliant smile, though.
Wouldn't it be great if I started talking and my voice sounded like Rashad's? Like if we were like being able to take each other's voices, all of a sudden my voice was Rashad's voice, and you could do like Donna's voice, and Donna could do my voice. Rashad would do Gina's voice.
You can do that with AI now.
That's scary. That's definitely scary.
I wonder what people do with people's voices like that when people take recordings of other people's voices, if they can use it and stuff. I've been so curious what that's about and if that matters. Because, I mean, it's still my voice per se, but if somebody's taking something I said and then putting it into some AI thing, like how would I know, right? I could be making a commercial about something somewhere and I don't even know it.
I think that's a big thing right now with like the music industry. That's a big thing right now with like TikTok and like the music and being able to like take I don't know, I probably don't know much about it to speak about it, but I just saw something that Universal Music was going to pull their music from TikTok because of the being able to kind of generate their voices, and I don't know, but yeah, there's been a lot of talk about like using the celebrity voices, and then they're not aware of it, and whatever's making money off of it. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this all really plays out in the next few years, where we, really dive into the Aquarian energy with Pluto being there.
I think I was having a conversation with my son, and he was talking about how the AI technology over time will eventually probably replace a lot of jobs.
Yeah.
Like up to like in 15 years, like up to 50% of jobs will go away because of AI. He had that conversation with someone high up in Google, and I was just blown away by that number. 50% is a lot.
That is a lot.
So, I think that's pertinent too with, talking about fives and change. Like we've got to teach our kids to be resilient, to be adaptable, to be able to reinvent themselves, right? In order to exist and thrive in the future.
And with the Five of Hearts transforming into the Jack of Diamonds, that change brings an initiation. You know what I mean? It brings you to a higher set of values, and you have to get more creative, financially creative. You have to think outside the box. You have to innovate. And see, people resist change when change is really to bring you, you know, more innovation, more of probably what you really want. But again, it's that cutting the anchor and not getting complacent with it. Like for me, I jokingly say I don't want to live amongst the robots. But I have to really learn to adapt to the using the technology and stuff like that. But and interestingly enough, it's what we were talking about in the workshop was the Five of Spades pushes me, it supports me, but I'm a fixed card. So funny, like how like change is something I should really embrace, but it can be uncomfortable at times. But I've learned with that Five of Spades that it actually is supporting me to kind of unstick me, so I can, you know, innovate and rise up to a higher level of my energy rather than stay stagnant.
Yeah, I mean, fives are often described as being very restless energies, but let's be honest, people don't change or initiate new things when everything's calm and fine.
When you're comfortable.
Right. I mean, it takes like lighting that fire, and that's kind of like the energy of that five. And so we can look to them too as being, you know, good role models, and to appreciate that kind of energy when we have it, particularly when we have that in our yearly spreads, to remind us that that's a time where we do need to make some changes.
And don't resist. Like, I think that's one of the beautiful things about this stuff is if we're going to use it, you know, if like someone has, I think Brenda said, yeah, she's right here. I have the Five of Hearts as a challenge, the Five of Hearts in Neptune, and I'm displacing the Five of Clubs. You are already right there. Like, you just have to, I think she's a King of Diamonds too. So they may be more resistant to the move and the change and the shifts. But this year, you know, if you're displacing the Five of Clubs, your point of view is about to change. How you think is about to change. How you see things is about to change. How you communicate is about to change. If you resist that, now you're like, I look at it as like going, you're either going to go with the current or you're going to go against the current. And going against the current is going to exhaust you. You know, it's going to run you down. So you might as well flow with it and allow the flow. Like I talk about the fives being like the wash spin cycle of a washing, you know, washing clothes is going to spit you out in a different direction. And you have to kind of accept that and see the positive. But a lot of people, I've noticed when fives are heavy, especially if there's like five in Saturn or five in Pluto, we resist it more. We don't want to let go of that comfortableness and that complacency we've kind of gotten, you know, stuck in. And so, but knowing that that change is necessary for your growth, it makes you be more open to it and not resist it, I feel.
Yeah. I mean, just the nature of it, the Five of Club being her displaced card, the displaced is, you know, something that you're going to have to put a little more energy into. And so you might as well put it in productive energy rather than just like spinning your wheels, right? Now that's also, that displacement is also known as the millionaire spread. What do you guys think about that? So when you displace the Five of Club, it means you have a Seven of Diamond, Nine of Heart, and Jupiter. And being that King of Diamond, that's a business card, like hopefully running your own business to make millions with the millionaire spread.
You have to think like a millionaire. You have to operate from that space. It can't come from the outside. It starts from within. And so probably more so changing her mindset on her ability to attract wealth and prosperity. And if there's any lack, because that Seven of Diamonds can either be where you can attract a lot of money or you'll lose a lot of money, or not really lose it, but not allow yourself to receive it. You'll resist it. You want to get it? Okay. You'll resist it, or you'll talk yourself out of it because you don't believe you deserve it. You're not worthy of it. Yeah, Seven of Diamonds is such an internal, it's the millionaire's card. And I always say millionaires don't have a broke mindset, because if they had a broke mindset, they'd be broke. They would not be millionaires. It's impossible. So sitting in the Five of Clubs is changing your mindset on your ability to be prosperous. Maybe having to kind of reshift your thoughts on money, on prosperity, on abundance, on wealth.
In relationships, she has a Seven of Hearts displacing and Mercury on that spread too. Um, Displacing the Three of Diamonds. So self worth,
Yep.
not selling yourself short. Also, sticking to your boundaries or sticking to your guns within your personal relationships or work relationships or wherever it may be is very important as well. And also, there's a five pushing her on that spread is also with the fives. With all that, she has a five of clubs and Neptune displacing five of is it five of clubs? Was it five of clubs and Neptune? All right, I went off the spread.
I think she said a
Five.
five
Sorry.
heart and
Yeah,
Neptune.
right here on the screen. I'm
So you're
over.
traveling, taking yourself out of your comfort zone, and really, I think Five of Hearts as a challenge, and the Five of Hearts in Neptune. There's something that wants you to get out more, put yourself, like, experience something outside of your state or something outside of your local area, like really traveling and changing your scenery would be very beneficial. Seeing how other people may do things.
Yeah, and hearts are about relationships. So maybe exposing yourself to a different group of people that maybe have different mindsets. So, we all tend to kind of like, stick within our core of people who we hang out with, maybe branch out a little bit more and meet people who have, from a different culture or have a different lifestyle, because that can open up, different ideas of what you're meant to be doing.
And again, right here at an hour and like 11 minutes. Is there anyone else? Type yes if you would want. I guess kind of like a little mini reading or information on your spread this year. You can text the number that's on the screen, your birth date. I'll find the spread that you own or the age spread, and also your card. Um, and I'll say your age spread in your card so everyone else will know, but it won't be, seen on screen. I know a lot of people are like, I don't want nobody to know how old I am. We're all young under the sun, so don't worry. The older you are, the more experience you have. So never be shy about your age. But yeah, so we'll take a few more minutes if you all want to do that. We may try to make that a regular thing within this segment. And again, the change that we've kind of been inspired to do and to have based on Madeline's intuition and her inspiration. And it's working with families, and there will be, I guess, like another segment for that. And if we continue this segment, there may be a lot of energy just going to the other one. So maybe some changes here in the near future. Just watch out for that, and we'll let you know of any updates. But we thank you all for coming in, being with us, being a part of this experience, and hopefully you've learned a lot. I've been going back and listening to a lot of the older shows and getting clips, and I can say that I'm proud. I thank Madeline and Gina for joining me and showing up and helping you all out and learning from their personal experiences. Like I said, like we give you our lives, so what do you bring to the table? So we definitely appreciate, everything that you all bring every week as far as questions, and thank them for the transparency and bringing their personal stories in. I was just listening to Gina this morning, and she was like, the best ways to learn is looking at your own personal spread week in, week out, uh, and learning the cards, and that's how we've been learning how we can iterate like our own personal journeys and stories is because we look at our cards weekly or daily, and it may just be something that pops up and like, what is going on today?
Well,
Like,
and knowing not just your own daily card too, because sometimes I'll forget my own card. Sometimes if I'm not, but I'll know what the daily card collectively is, and I pay very much attention to that because that teaches you so much. Like the other day, the Ten of Spades day, and I was telling the Ten of Spades, I was like, "Yo, your energy is off the chain," because it was 3 o'clock, and I was like, "I've done so much work." When it's only 3 o'clock, I got the rest of the day to do this. But at the same time, I felt so accomplished. I felt like I understand why they're so driven and they're so about that work, because when you look at it, they transform into the king of diamonds. So there is the element of that success and being the boss and having that power, but they don't stop like that. And I found like I mean, from the moment I woke up that day, being emails, phone calls, dealing with insurance, dealing with this, having a meeting, going to a class, it was nonstop. And I was like, okay. And then there was another day where this is a long time ago, I personally had the 10 of spades as one of my cards. And in my class that day, I was taking a Pilates class and the weight on the machine was heavier and I didn't know it. And I'm jumping and I'm like, what? Oh my God. Like I could feel it. It reminds me of having a lot of physical power. Remember, they have an ace of spades in Mars. They have to have an outlet. So that's why they're constantly doing things. There's no chill. And I just saw that on Friday. I was like, there's no chill with this. There's just no chill. But and for someone who very much likes to chill and sometimes can chill to the extreme and not do anything, I can appreciate that energy.
She's
I
fully
because it
appreciate.
pushes me to like get out of my very chill energy and do shit. And then if I feel I loved the sense of accomplishment. Like that was the reward, is that I felt like it wasn't just working in vain. Like I'm just dragging myself to, exhaustion. I felt very accomplished. I got a lot done. And so I can appreciate that energy so much now because I could see the results even through a lot of like busy, like boom, 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 boom. There was no rest. But at the end of the day, I was like, it just felt good. It was like, I got a lot accomplished. So that's the best thing for me is to, yes, I pay attention to my own cards, but sometimes I'm more tuned in to what the daily card is, because I think that would, and then you're learning it through your own experience. So.
You know, I was just thinking, Gina, when you were sharing that, I don't know if I sound like a robot still, do I?
No, when we talk to
Do I
you,
still
we
sound
sound
like
like
we sound like that 52-day period is a really interesting thing to start to bring into people's lives awareness, right? Because like I'm in a 10 of spades, it just started, and I notice when I look at everybody's before we get on, Rashad's also in a 10 of spades 52-day right now. So it's really interesting to notice what energy is going on with your 52-day and the cards that are playing in the daily cards. So just in that way that we did weekly, it might be an interesting thing. I don't know how we would do it because we'd have to pick a specific 52-day, but even just what it is like to have that card in a 52-day, like what you can accomplish or what it is that it might be an impetus to. So it's just a thought, something that came up when you were talking.
Oh, the 52-day period is great too. I mean, that you're going to learn. Like I know for me personally, I was just looking at my spread. I'm in Jupiter right now and I'm about to get into Saturn this month. At the end of the month, I'm like, okay, it's time to get serious. I'm seeing what card I have. And I've already even seen those two cards in Saturn and I'm not even there yet. I already have played. There's things that have happened that line up exactly to what I have. So, and I think that gets, depending on who you like learn from. I've actually had debates about this, is that once that 52 days is over, I don't believe that. It's a whole, that energy, it's flowing, it's fluid. So it doesn't, yes, it's going to probably be more concentrated in that time, but I'm in Jupiter right now and I literally had the two Saturn cards play out already. So
peep this.
Yeah, it's
So
like it's in your hand. It's like
yeah.
we have our 13 card spread, like the 52 days, like the 52 is like your hand for the year. So all those cards are playing in the different ones. I feel that. I hear that.
yeah.
So go ahead, Rashad.
Yeah, so I had a session with a particular card, and their last year 52-day Neptune was the Jack of Hearts. This year, in their 52-day spread, I was speaking to them within their going into their Jack of Spades. So, and then why did I give them a reading on a Three of Hearts week? And I think within that Jack of Spades 52-day period. So the Jack of Spades was like the initiation, and you can get readings, or it's the doctor as well. It can be a false diagnosis, and it was just amazing. It just blew my mind, like you said. Even looking at the pattern, like I'm speaking with him in the Three of Hearts week, and I believe his Three of Hearts that year I think was displacing the let me go to the spread. It was displacing the Jack of Spades. So, like you said, that energy sometimes does die, and it keeps going, and you can see the patterns that may come up a year later. So yeah, you're absolutely right. How the energy, it evolves. So you want to continue to look at it and watch it and see where it's going for yourself. Which is, you
So,
don't get pressed on, but it's just interesting.
so a friend of mine here, I live in the Pacific Northwest, and a friend of mine named Sharon, her uncle, her mom's brother was Arnie Lean,
Oh, wow.
who did What's Your Card book.
Hmm.
And I have a copy of it actually,
Nice.
which is great. And she has told me that as far as those 52-day periods, that one thing that Arnie believed in that I'm curious about myself is that he felt that the Mercury 52-day period really was something that impacted the whole year stronger than any other 52-day period. And if you think about that, Mercury rules communication. I mean, that might make some sense, but she likened it to like how when you like hit something and make a sound, that it reverberates through the rest of the year. And that's the 52 Mercury period. That even though time has passed and you're in a different 52 period, that there's still like remnants
Yep.
of that energy. So I'm curious to see if you guys have found that to be true. I've been kind of studying it. I'm curious about it.
Yeah, I see,
Yeah,
like I said, I see it play out. You'll see, because like when I do a reading, if someone's coming for a yearly reading, I'll look back at the year that they left, because then you can see how they got to where they are. You know what I mean? So it all, like I said, it's fluid. It builds. Like Rashad said, it's a process. So I've noticed too, your Uranus period is connected to the reward, because it comes in. Like there, you can connect the Uranus with the reward energy. You know, um, and then when you did the transformation card too, because I read it all, so like you could see how that is even building as well. Like for me personally, this year I'm 40. I'm in the pure spread. I'm 44, and I'm transforming into the 10 of clubs. Well, I started teaching the cards like right at the beginning of my birthday's at the end of July, and I think it was in October when I started that course. So I was already building, like something told me like I should do this, and I just did it. That's how I do things. So I don't think about it, just do it. But that 10 of clubs is the coach, and I transform into 10 of clubs this year. That's the coach, the teacher. So, and here I am this year at 44, and I've been asked to teach these cards for years, but I never felt the confidence into doing it. I've been doing the readings and learning the spreads plate after plate with the weekly readings has been by far the best teacher. And you start to see the cycles and the patterns of the cards, what travel together. And I knew that that was what I was supposed to do. Now I could have resisted it and talked myself out of it, because I had the 7 of clubs and Pluto that week, and I almost did talk myself out of it. But I'm glad I didn't, because now it's brought me here to really have more confidence to work with other people. And I'm very passionate about doing it with the kids, and teaching with the parents. So I think it's beautiful. But yeah, that energy doesn't just go away when that 52 days doesn't like poof, it's disappeared. And I think Mercury, because it is how you communicate, would play out the whole year long. I could see that.
go ahead, man.
So when myself and Donna were chatting when we first met, we found, I like to add up everybody's cards and see what your composite card is. And hers and mine were the Queen of Hearts, and the 10 of clubs is the Mercury. And here's Gina coming in with this 10 of clubs, and Rashad's got a 10 of clubs year going on. So that just, again, that's how I'm always like, oh wow, like things are so much smarter than us. Like, not to say I don't like trying to figure it out, but boy, when I just watch the bongo, well, whatever the dynamics are, whatever the personalities are, the cards are putting you there. Do the work. Do you know what I mean? Like, what is it that helps you bring forth the teacher in each of us, right? Because that's what it is, to share from our own clarity. I had a little bit of a conversation, I'll just say, with the Four of Diamonds yesterday, and we were hashing some things. And I actually went back and listened to that thing that Deborah and Lewis did about having the energies of the cards speak. You know, how the Two of Spades was speaking to the Four of Diamonds just energetically. So I was thinking about my conversation with the Four of Diamonds yesterday as an energies. Like, how is the Four of Diamonds energy and the King of Diamonds, King of Hearts energy working together right now? Because our personalities were saying things, our tones were striking each other. You know, we were moving around things. So you could see that there was something that wanted to be kind of rubbed out. And I was really curious to see it. And what I found in listening to her and understanding it was that who she is to other people as the Four of Diamonds, like in her family, that helper, that take care of everybody, this and that. She does not play herself that way to the King of Diamonds. She looks to the King of Diamonds to be like, how can you make my life easier? What can you do for me? Do you know what I mean? Like, she did not come to me the same way she came to her sisters and trying to help her family. You know, like, she's like the savior. She's the one still home in her 40s, taking care of everyone. When she came to my house, it was like a little girl who wanted me to take care of her and put her in her bed and make her tea. Do you know what I mean? So it was an interesting way to notice how the energies, now granted, that could be my Cancerian way and this and that, but I just really like the idea of considering these cards like energies and taking them out of the personal as much as possible so people can recognize that
You have
our
to.
beings are vibrational frequency is all we are, and we're playing cards out of these energies. But I agree, Gina, it's a must.
You like when I remember when I was working at the little part-time job that I had a couple of years ago, and that was amazing because it was right when I was like really studying and learning and dabbling into the readings. Doing that's when we were doing the clubhouse rooms almost every single morning, and I got to see people in real life, and it really showed me because I met other people that were the same cards of other people that were in my life, and that's when I was able to remove the person and see the energy. You know what I mean? Like that. And I think that, and when I do a reading too, when I know someone has, like, let's say they have their partner is a six of clubs, right? And the six of clubs is all in their spread that week. I will say, you know, that's that, but let's take the person out of that. And what does that card bring? I'm big on that because it doesn't always mean the person, because you're reading for that person, you know, because you're reading for.
Yeah,
You know,
and those projections that I was talking about, you can get stuck.
think
Yeah, I was just going to say, in the
having been
projections, you
in
can get stuck on that person.
I know it's so weird right now.
robot sound too.
Mm-hmm.
I would go ahead, Croatia. What were you gonna say?
I was just saying that in those shared projections that people can have, you get focused on that person or that thing. Like, you know, they're dead to me. I'll never forgive them. Like, but it's not the person. It's an energy, right? It's an energy that's trying to cultivate change in you. And if you're not open to the change, you're going to project your stubbornness or your resistance into a person. So yes, that's all I was saying. I was just reiterating and saying another way, but please go. I'm sorry, interrupted.
Oh no, not at all. So, as a teacher who's had like tons of like parent-teacher conferences over time, when kids get into middle school, that's when they start, you know, stretching the boundaries, if you will, right? And when you're having conversations with parents, they take things really personally because their children are a reflection of them and their parenting. And so I think this is going to be really important for us when we're dealing with parents to not make it personal. And particularly when we're talking about some difficult relationships, to talk about it in terms of energies. You know, one of my favorite ways of wording things when I do my readings is I say, well, these energies would suggest that, because it just takes it out of the person, and more defines what's going on with the energy that they're experiencing.
And that's where you got to slow down, right? Because when you're in that parenting mode and your kids are at certain ages and stages, in some ways you're just going and doing all the different things. Like you're not paying attention to the fact that your kid is now introducing you to a disowned part of you that you're mistreating in them. Do you know what I mean? Like, who thinks that that's happening? Do you know what I mean? But it's like, well, that's what's happening. You know what I mean? They're trying to say that the way you're talking to me or about me or whatever's happening, like there's a shadow here or there's something going on. And sometimes they're definitely just line pushing. But when we can't hold the line, that's our stuff, right? Like we don't know where our line is. We're letting them do it. Like I had a like their way that things are done sometimes with my grandson is so different than the way when I raised my children. Because I'm such a bratty girl who has to sleep and has her way, they went to bed and they did whatever I said because I talk like I talk and they know I meant it and I would take their stuff away. But it's a very different way that it's happening. So there's like a commanding way that this person wakes up in the middle of the night, starts telling me what to do, and I'm like, what? Like, what do you mean you're trying to tell me what to do right now? Like, I'm asleep and you just woke me up. Like, what do you want? You know what I mean? I was like, wow. And like, I don't know what it was. I was so tired yesterday. I don't know if it's the solar flares, but I was really struggling to stay present yesterday. And when he woke up in the middle of the night, when I thought it was finally over, I was like, no, no. Like, I was just almost scared of what was going to happen. I was just like, please go to bed. So those are my shadows, right? Those are the things where it's like, okay, I got to learn how to make this line and reprogram myself to meet who he is, and not impose my way. And this is how my kids were. Like, it's not like that, right? Like, we're changing.
Well,
Humbling.
yesterday was a nine of spade day,
It is
right?
humbling. And he's a nine of diamonds.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah. Considering that, we did a great job.
And that's what helps. You know what I mean? Like that right there is what kind of gives you like, okay, I know that that's the energy. And it just, I think it allows you to have grace with the person. You understand them, just even just knowing their card. You may not know every card that they have, but you just knowing what that energy can bring, it allows you to give them space to be that. Now obviously, like you said, you don't want them going, ham or anything like that. And but teaching them, I think that's just the beauty of these sciences, whether it's astrology, cardology, human design, whatever you're using to have a better understanding of yourself and to learn other people. It just makes you better to be able to kind of equip to relate and understand others, especially intimately, your children, your partner, your coworkers. Like when I worked at that part-time job, once I knew everybody's card, like they deemed me the residence. Like as soon as you came in, I had to find out your birthday so I could brief everybody who we were dealing with. But I found also you find like similar cards in certain industries. Now I don't even like. I try to guess people's cards just by the way they show up. I'm like, ooh, like I was at the park yesterday. I was at the park yesterday with a friend, and there was a little girl who kept like, because we had the dog with us, she was following us around, like the dog and the other kids around. And we were talking, and she goes, see, the little girl, like when the mom said it's time to go, the little girl took off. And we were like, she gotta be a 5. So she just took off. We're like, my kids never, like, if it was time to go, they knew. It was like they didn't run off or so it's funny how you try to like point these energies onto people without knowing. It was just a guess, and we were probably right because the kid was like not trying to leave. Like they were like, no, 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 no. And she did. I'm a runner. Like she ran. It was funny. So that's where I am now with this. Is I don't even like. Let me guess your card, see if I'm right.
No, yes, for sure.
That's all I do on the weekend time is find out people's cards all the time.
Yeah, even the days, I try to guess the days and the energy that people have going on, and also my energy of the day to try to understand where I'm at and what I'm emitting for the day. But we're at an hour 30. I don't want to keep everyone too long. Um, We did get a last minute text.
Last minute text.
Always use mine as a five of hearts,
Always use mine
seven
as a five.
red, 48, um, plate 48. Oh, okay. The Jack of Club is on AIDS, plate 48, I believe. Um, we'll do this one before we go. You what's funny is on age 48 they have a five of hearts Venus with the 10 of hearts, displacing the 10 of hearts. So
Displacing.
so we can use that as an example before we go. If Gina, but we'll send this person has is a Jack of Clubs on age 48, and has a five of hearts Venus. Does anyone want to speak on that particular age spread, and the Jack of Clubs at 48?
Well, I'll just say something real fast about that. So, oftentimes we look at the Five of Heart and Venus as being, a divorce, the divorce card, but it means a change of heart. So that, or a change in a relationship. So that can also mean a change for the better. It's always looked at more negatively that it's a divorce, but it can be even indicating a new relationship. And fives, Venus rules home too, so there could be a change in where you live, or maybe a short trip, something like that takes you away from your home. Or maybe your spouse is traveling more, something like that. So there's multiple meanings to that.
Yeah. So relationships. Speaking about changes within relationships, also maybe even parenting and motherhood as well. Has the Queen of Hearts pushing that Five of Hearts and Venus around the 10 of Hearts, right? So I believe that particular person spoke about their own experiences with their grandchildren. Looking at parenting, even maybe speaking to your ancestors, or maybe not the same, just people who have passed beyond. But I also look at the four spades as your as like your shrine, your altar. That's what I'm speaking of, like your altar, right? So looking at your altar, setting up intake of gaining wisdom or knowledge, maybe about your heritage, your history, or just, your own parenting styles. We were talking about parenting styles as well, right? So analyzing yourself, understanding your household, what it takes to be maybe there more emotionally. The Five Arts is a change of emotion, so that personal development around emotions and caregiving or taking care of someone, right? You have a Seven of Clubs as well, and within the spread, and the Ace of Diamonds. So I'm talking about new relationships and new things, maybe the acquisition, or looking at trying to get something new or trying to acquire something new in some type of way as well. Anything you want to say, Gina?
What we're talking about the Five of Hearts?
No, I'm sorry, you probably didn't hear me. So I was telling everyone to text that number with any questions for the age, and the Jack of Clubs is on age plate 48. So we was looking at age spread 48 for the Jack of Clubs. If you want to take a look at it.
No, I had to move, so I'm not looking at anything right now. And I'm not going to push
Okay.
a button because I'll probably kick myself out of here.
Okay. No, you're fine. You're fine. But
Okay, no, you're fine. You're fine. But
What comes up for me is 48, right? Because 48 is a 3. Like I think of my years like that way too. And so in the Five of Hearts, you know, I find that anytime you're going to change, it's changing to kind of evolve, right? So in the evolution process, we're kind of got to get me right, got to figure out what I'm bringing, and then I got to bring me to community. I got to add me, right? So I think of it like that, like what am I adding and what am I letting go? Because it's a more of a cultivation of like a refinement of yourself as you get older and you bring yourself into the world. So that's what pops up for me when you ask me.
And I agree with what Donna said. Like, not always is it a divorce. Like, if you someone who's married and has a Five of Hearts, like, don't think, oh my God, I'm going to be divorced this year. It just means there might be changes in your relationship. You might want to spice things up. You might want to take a spontaneous trip. You might want to implement date night. That can be just as simple. It just could be simple as that. Like, making those necessary changes within the relationship to bring more freedom, you know, to have more fun, to try something new, to make a shift, to be able to kind of, you know, motivate you to go in a different direction. But I won't lie, if both people aren't on board, then there can be some, you know, discordant energies with that five, because one may be wanting something different and the other is like, no, I'm good with how it has been. And so depending on the person and the situation, you know, I don't like deem it, oh, you're going to be divorced this year. I would never put that on somebody. You know what I mean? Because they could call that card that, or the Nine of Hearts too. I just think it just means that, like you said, there's going to be some shifts, there's going to be some changes, and it can be fun as hell. You know what I mean? It can be a good old time. Doesn't always have to be, you know, a disaster or something ending, or, you know, a separation of some sort. So, but yeah, I need to go because we have the 1:30 workshop that I'm going to send you all the link to, for the parenting one that I'm doing today. So that'll be fun. I'm excited about.
So that'll be fun. I'm excited
doing
about
more work with y'all in that space, because I think
doing
we
more
could
work
really
with y'all in that
do
space,
some
because I
good
think we
stuff
could
here.
really do some good stuff here.
Thanks, Gina. I love you. Thank you so
And
much,
what
Donna.
time is
Thanks
the
for coming.
parenting one?
Rashad.
And
1:30
what time is the parent?
soon.
Yeah, probably about 50 minutes or so. So yeah, thank you all for joining us. We'll be back next week. Again, it may be some changes in maybe 2 to 3 weeks, around like a parenting room, uh, or live, just focus on that. So, and relationships. So we'll speak with you all later. Was there anything in closing that you all wanted to say?
Thanks for the way that the cards brought everything to clarity and continue to move us so deeply. Thank you for the wisdom that gets carried in the universe that's part of us that we can see play out for each other. Thank you for everybody for showing up. Good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Donna. This was
You're
awesome.
Yeah,
welcome.
Nice
thank
to
you,
meet
Donna.
you.
This was awesome. Nice to meet you.
All right. Well, see you all later. Thank you all for showing up again, and have a nice one. Next week is the Six of Hearts. I may invite a Six of Hearts guest. So see you all next week.
Bye, everybody.